Hello and welcome to Spectrum News at 4. I am Janice Cobham coming to you live from the beautiful hills of Akwa. Let's take a look at the headlines. Federal government says $1.1 billion externally funded agri projects created 3.6 million indirect jobs. Uduak Akwan sentenced to die by hanging for killing job seeker. Plus, U.S. House Speaker Pelosi lands in Japan as final stop on Asia trip. We will bring you details of these stories and more in a moment. Many thanks for joining us on the news at 4. We'll begin with a report that the federal government says about 3.6 million indirect jobs have been created from $1.1 billion worth of externally funded projects being implemented by the Buhari-led government. Minister of Agriculture Mohammed Abubakar stated this while featuring on the ministerial media briefing organized by the Presidential Communications team at the Presidential Villa, Abuja. The minister said $538 million was approved for special agricultural processing zones to support inclusive and sustainable agricultural development in Nigeria. Abubakar further stated that another project worth $575 million was being implemented to improve rural access and agricultural marketing in participating states while strengthening the financing institutional base for effective development, maintenance and management of rural roads network. He gave the participating states as Akwa, Ibom, Bauchi, Kano, Katsina, Kogi, Kwara, Kebbi, Ogun, Ondo, Oyo, Plateau, and Sokoto. And meanwhile, the Minister of Agriculture, Mohammed Abubakar, says food production has not dropped in spite of the protracted security challenge in the country. Speaking during the weekly ministerial briefing at the State House in Abuja, Abubakar acknowledged that the insurgency inhibiting farmers from accessing their farms, particularly in the northwest, northeast, and north central, was a concern for the federal government. He, however, maintained that food production continued at an appreciable level for most parts of the country. And away from that now, the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, is asking for the immediate refund of the 1.4 billion naira given to Niger Republic for the purchase of official vehicles by President Muhammadu Buhari. SERAP made the demand on its verified Twitter handle. Recall that the Minister of Finance, Zainab Ahmed, had confirmed that the federal government approved 1.4 billion naira for the supply of the vehicles to the Republic of Niger to help the country fight insecurity. On security, police have announced plans to offer a nationwide training to its officers and men on election security management through a workshop to be done in collaboration with experts and other security agencies. This is set to be part of the Inspector General of Police's reform and upgrade agenda to strengthen and build the capacity of the force in preparation for the 2023 general elections. The IGP, Usman Baba, said the leadership of the police had kick-started targeted and specialized efforts to enhance the capacity of its officers to meet the force's obligation in the national and inter-agency quest for a fair, peaceful, secure and credible electoral process next year. The IGP noted that the election security management workshop, slated for next month, would feature sessions led by legal and security experts, including top officers of the armed forces. He said the experts will provide lessons on the legal and security framework guiding the roles and actions of the police and how to facilitate and maintain an inter-agency collaboration, including with the media, to ensure a hitch-free exercise. In a separate development, Central Criminal Court in the United Kingdom has adjourned the organ harvesting case involving Senator Ike Ekweremadu and his wife. Ekweremadu and his wife Beatrice are facing charges bordering on conspiracy to arrange and facilitate the travel of another person with a view to exploitation, namely organ harvesting. However, a third individual, Obinna Obeta, who is a practicing medical doctor in London, appeared alongside the duo. The main trial will hold in 2023, while a pre-trial is scheduled for October 31, in which the ex-Deputy Senate President, his wife, and Obeta will appear in court. In Akwa Ibom State, the chairman and CEO, TAF and Associates, Tony Afia, has announced the birth of the first privately owned dialect-speaking radio station in Akwa Ibom State, Tangsio 102.7 FM. We now bring you the special broadcast by our CEO, Tony Afia.
It is my great pleasure to address you all, and I am particularly very pleased to be able to once again address those of you that have been with us from inception, as well as those of you who are new to the Planet Radio and Spectrum Television platforms. As an ardent listener and follower of the TAP Media Group, I am certain you have observed the frequent interruptions in our transmission and sometimes non-operation for some time now. This is as a result of the devastating damage caused by a massive thunder strike on our installations in the Spectrum TV, Planet radio stations, and on our power generating plants. This happened a few months after the completion of the periodic reinforcement of our earthing system. We want to very sincerely and unreservedly tender our apologies for all the inconveniences and the quality infotainment you've missed due to the unfortunate lightning incident. The wise man said, "It is not how many times you fall, but how courageous and determined you are to get up, dust yourself and move on, that matters." So we have left no stone unturned in our effort to return to full capacity transmission. The challenges we have faced in the past few weeks afforded us the time to reflect on the goodwill shown to us by our listeners, viewers, clients, and partners. So I convey here the sentiment of immense appreciation shared by the board, management, and staff of TAF Media Group to our esteemed listeners and viewers for your unwavering support, loyalty, and sustained patronage. You all are truly the reason for our existence. Our years of operating in a sector such as ours that is constantly and rapidly evolving is an achievement that we are particularly proud of. We are honored to be here, and even more so to have done it on the back of our consistent, strong values of discipline and high quality service, all the while raising our profile and prominence in the industry. Esteemed listeners and viewers, recall that Planet Radio came alive when people least expected it. When it did, well-meaning individuals in the state proposed that the vision of establishing the first privately owned and indigenous radio stations was a burden shared by many, but actualized first by TAF and Associate. In the same vein, and as part of our continued effort to get into closer contact with the people through our wider coverage of radio and programming, I announce to you the introduction and commencement of an entirely indigenous language radio station into the TAF Media Group brands, effective Monday, August 1st, 2022. For us at TAF Media Group, the emergence of Tangsio 102.7 FM, as the station is so called, is particularly thrilled and momentous, as it is aimed at catering for the information, education, and entertainment needs of the mass of our indigenous populace that hitherto have not been catered for with our English language broadcast on Planet Radio. Our objective is to build a profitable, sustainable, and contributing company for the enlightenment and development of our people. And we know that in order to achieve this, the happiness and satisfaction of our teeming listeners and viewers is the priority. Tangsio 102.7 FM will be broadcast exclusively in Ibibio, Anang, Oro, and Efik languages. And in doing this, we will continue to uphold the best standards of professionalism in the conduct of our business, even as we will continue to push for more innovative ways of serving the people better. I would like to express my sincere gratitude to members of the board and the entire staff of TAF Media Group who have been doing their very best in their respective positions, especially to the engineering staff who are devoting their effort to ensuring smooth operations in spite of the challenging times. This for me is profound and indispensable for this new leap. Above all, I gratefully acknowledge the support and sustained patronage of the government of Akwa Ibom states, clients and partners, and once again, the goodwill of our listeners and viewers. We hope and believe that Tangsio 102.7 will be of immense benefit to our people as it will help expand the space for social political engagement, entertainment, and the advancement of our dear state. Definitely, Tangsio will be a greater envy of our competition. Finally, TAF Media Group sincerely appreciates the good people of Ibiakuran for their unceasing support in ensuring that our assets are secured. May the Almighty God continue to bless TAF Media Group, Ibiakuran people, Akwa Ibom State, and the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Many congratulations there to TAF Media Group. And still in Akwa Ibom State High Court in Uyo has sentenced Uduak Frank Akpan, the first accused in the murder of Inubong Umoren, to die by hanging. In the over 2 hours judgment by the presiding judge, Basi Nkanang, the convict was found guilty of rape and murder. On the first count of murder, he was sentenced to be hung on the neck till he dies and sentenced to life imprisonment on the second count of rape. Uduak's father, Frank Akpan, and his sister, Awan Basi, who are the second and third accused, were however discharged and acquitted. It would be recalled that Umoren, a graduate of philosophy, University of Uyo, was killed in April 2021 while job hunting and waiting mobilization for the compulsory National Youth Service Corps NYSC scheme. And speaking after the court's judgment, the Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice of the state, Uko Udom, applauded the manner of the denouncement of the case and addressed other issues regarding appeal by the convict and the mild drama after judgment in which the convict attempted to escape the courtroom. In the meantime, the siblings of the deceased, led by Ifyo Umoren, showed gratitude for the verdict but appealed that both governments and both at the national and state level should do more in terms of youth empowerment through job creation. They noted with grim that though their sister has found justice, it does not in any way bring back her life. Ifyo particularly pointed out that her sister died while searching for a job, and she herself was still ironically unemployed.
I want to very particularly thank God for today. The gruesome murder of a newborn Omore is a matter that reverberated across the globe, and we were looking forward to this day. Whatever happens, justice has been done, and I used the opportunity to commend His Lordship, the trial judge, who went bent over backwards to accommodate this matter and finish the trial and up to judgment within 9 months. I also want to use the opportunity to thank His Excellency the Governor of Akwa Ibom State and Her Excellency the wife of the Governor that led a protest and brought it to the fore, to the consciousness of the public as at the time this incident occurred. It's a landmark case, and we don't need to say much. Justice has been done, and this shows that crime does not pay. There is no condition that will justify a crime. That is why the law has not made exception. When you commit a crime, you pay for what you have committed. There is no social circumstances that will absolve you when you have the consequences of crime hang on your head.
Yeah, I am also doing a case of my sister that went to look for a job and she died at the process. So talking about government doing something about the jobless situation of some Nigerians in this country, it's something that you should look into. Presently, as I speak, I still repeat myself, I am jobless. I am, but I'm a graduate too. It's not like I didn't go to school. At least I have the criteria that one should have a job, and a good one at that.
Well, I don't think it's something to be surprised about. This young man committed some very grievous offenses and very gruesome offenses. And if you follow the facts of the case, you would not put it past him to do something drastic and do something as bad as he attempted to do here. And I think the security officials were very, very attentive, and that's why they were able to overcome him and put him up. But let me not stop without commending the Nigerian police force and the officers of the DSS for the very diligent investigation that they carried out in this case. They did such great jobs. So many times we have these gentlemen vilified, sometimes by members of the public, particularly in the social media. You hear all kinds of stories about complicities among the investigators. But if you listen to that judgment, you would know that without the diligence of the police and the officers of the DSS, the evidence that we had on behalf of the state to prosecute and bring about the conviction would not have been possible. All Ibom wanted was a job, and she ended losing her life because of the criminals that parade this country. It is so sad. And I'd like to actually extend my thanks to the family of Ibom, particularly Ifyo, her sister, who was one of the witnesses here. It was because of her bravery and tenacity that she was able to get the police, to help the police in tracking a lot of the moves that the accused person or the convicted person made. It's so sad, but I just hope that this conviction will bring a measure of closure to the family, and that the life of Ibom would be a blessing to all of us.
We move now to Africa, where Senegal's opposition has called for the suspension of the publication of the results of Sunday's legislative elections to examine its complaints over alleged irregularities and fraud. Recall that both the government and opposition camps are claiming victory after Sunday's votes to renew the 165 seats in the National Assembly, which is largely controlled by the presidential. The polls, which is the last before presidential elections in 2024, were an important task for SAL after local elections in January saw the opposition win in major cities, including the capital Dakar and the southern ties in the west. On the foreign scene, Taiwan has accused China of imitating North Korea by firing missiles into the sea around the island. Taiwan said China launched 11 ballistic missiles into waters around Taiwan's northeast and southwest coast. The launches, just miles from the coast, followed U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's visit to Taiwan yesterday. North Korea, which is a strong ally of China's, has been accused of igniting tensions in the region by repeatedly launching missiles tests in recent months. And in a related development, U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has arrived in Japan for the final stop on her Asian tour, following a visit to Taiwan that incensed China. Reports say the politician had disembarked from her plane at Yokota Air Base in Tokyo before greeting the U.S. ambassador and other officials with hugs and handshakes. Beijing has launched large-scale military drills in the waters around Taiwan after Pelosi this week became the highest-profile elected U.S. official to set foot on the self-ruled island in 25 years. The 82-year-old politician defied a series of stern threats from China to meet Taiwanese leaders yesterday, saying her trip made it clear that the United States would not abandon a democratic ally. And still on the foreign scene, the United States Senate has voted to approve the accession of Finland and Sweden to the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, with the resolution gaining the support of 95 senators. The single dissenting vote came from Republican Senator Josh Hawley of Missouri, who argued that there should be less focus on security in Europe and much more on the threats from China. Recall that U.S. President Joe Biden has strongly supported the accession of Sweden and Finland to NATO and referred the matter to the Senate for consideration back in July. The vote in Washington followed a vote in France's National Assembly earlier on Wednesday, in which 209 deputies voted in favor of Finnish and Swedish membership, while 46 voted against. Reports say before the accession rules can enter into force, Finland and Sweden must be ratified by all 30 NATO member states, two-thirds of which have already given their approval for the new members. Still to come in the news, 5 Nigerians qualify for para table tennis semi-finals. Still stay with us. Many thanks for staying tuned. Now to the rest of our stories. On our business news, the world's biggest oil producers have agreed to raise production slightly in a bid to help ease high prices. Non-members of oil producers group called Organizations of Petroleum Exporting Countries OPEC, which include Russia, agreed to add 100,000 more barrels per day to the market from September. The decision is reportedly a blow to leaders who had called for production to be ramped up, with the latest production output witnessing a slower pace than in recent months. In health, the Assistant General Manager, Informal Sector Department, National Health Insurance Authority, Dr. Sikiru Salawuddin, says the national and state registers will be used to determine beneficiaries of the Vulnerable Group Fund. The Vulnerable Group Fund, created in the newly signed National Health Insurance Authority Act 2022, is to help provide free health insurance for vulnerable Nigerians. Salawuddin made this known during the Basic Healthcare Provision Fund webinar series. The authority's officials stated further that the Vulnerable Group Fund was expected to provide health insurance for over 83 million vulnerable Nigerians, adding that it would assist in achieving universal health coverage for all Nigerians. According to the World Health Organization, universal health coverage ensures that all persons have access to health services they need, when and where they need them, without a financial hardship. The World Health Authority has also pledged support for the implementation of the Vulnerable Group Funds. And now to sports. 5 Nigerian athletes, Ifechukwude Ikpeoyi, Faith Abazuaye, Nasiru Sule, Iso Ogunkunle, and Tajuddin Agumbaide, have qualified for the semi-finals of the para table tennis events of the 2022 Commonwealth Games in Birmingham. Ikpeoyi, a debutant that first secured her place in the women's single classes 3 to 5 after finishing second in her group. However, another Nigerian, Chinenye Obiora, was unlucky as she failed to book her place in the last 4. Obazuaye, a silver medalist at the 2018 edition, has also secured her spot in the semi-finals of the women's single classes 8 to 10 after placing second in her group. In the men's singles classes 3 to 5, Sule and Ogunkunle topped their group to hit the semi-final round of the competition. Also, Agumbaide in the men's single classes 8 to 10 secured his place in the semi-finals. And still in sports, the Super Eagles of Nigeria will take on former European champions Portugal in an international friendly in September. The 3-time African champions were earlier scheduled to face the Joe Truz of Guinea-Bissau in the 2023 African Cup of Nations qualifiers in September, but the double-header has been shifted to March 2023 by the Confederation of African Football. Reports say NFF wants to take advantage of the FIFA window and make sure the Super Eagles were kept busy following the postponement of the qualifiers. And that's all we have for you at this time. Do well to follow us on all our social media and subscribe to our YouTube page, all of which you can find at spectrumtv.ng. You have been watching Spectrum News at 4. I am Janice Cobham. Do you have a great evening?